If you are looking at buying a freeze dryer like this one and starting a freeze drying business, I want you to take a pause right now and watch this video because I'm going to go through a full guide of things you should know before starting a freeze drying business, including the equipment you should buy, supplies, business tips, as well as the things that will make sense for you to be successful right from the start. Let's get started with this video and I'll tell you all about it. Welcome to the Freeze Dry Business channel. My name is David and I run a freeze dry business in Idaho. I share a lot of tips and tricks for people starting out in freeze drying, or if they're currently in one and just want to know things that other people are doing in the industry to help them succeed in their business. So if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified of future freeze drying videos that I come out with. Now today, there's several things that I did prior to starting my freeze drying business, and also things that I have done over the past 3 years of owning my business that I think would be important for you to know before you start venturing into this freeze drying business world. I'm going to make it super simple and go through different topics that I feel are the most important, but obviously if I'm missing something or if there's things that you have questions on, feel free to leave a comment in this video. The first thing you're going to need in your freeze drying business is a freeze dryer. I'm going to go through several different brands that are out there on the market. I'm going to go through their sizes, their cost, as well as the recommendations that I would have for you to purchase if you're just starting out freeze drying. First on the list is the leader in home freeze dryers, as well as people who are doing it as a business, and that is Harvest-Rite. That's the freeze dryer right behind me. Now this is the size large that you can buy. They have several different sizes. In fact, they have 4. They have the small, medium, large, and XL. Now when people ask me what should they choose first, I do say go ahead and stick with the large first. You can do up to 16, they say even to 20 pounds of product. I've managed to do about 14 to 16 pounds maximum in this freeze dryer. Go ahead and upgrade the second machine that you buy to that XL. There are different colors. I would recommend going with the stainless steel if you're gonna plan on going commercial, because you're gonna need that kind of stainless steel commercial type grade machine. Now, if you're not planning on growing any further, just go ahead and stick with the large machine. And in fact, you can use it for home use and even beyond if you get out of the freeze drying business. The price range for a Harvest-Rite starts at a small around $2,300 up to the XLs around $5,000. Each one of these models includes trays, pumps, pump oil, as well as different trays and supplies for you once it comes shipped to you. Typically, they offer free shipping. Check in with their website using my affiliate link in the video description, and you can check to see if they have different specials going on to get a discount on a freeze dryer. Next on the list is the brand Stay Fresh. I have a Stay Fresh freeze dryer. It's about the size of between a medium Harvest-Rite and a large Harvest-Rite. It can do up to 12 to 13 pounds of food, and that's the only size that they have right now. Now, they are coming out with a large that I've heard of, and that's going to be rolled out sometime next year. It just hasn't been released yet of when that's going to happen and what all the details are, but I'll be sure to be coming out with a new video once that comes out. Now the price range on that is ranging between about $3,000, could be closer to $4,000 depending on if you get the industrial pump. I would recommend the industrial pump just because the standard that I got for the cheaper price, you have to do oil changes more often, and so the industrial pump kind of allows you to not have to change the oil so frequently. Next is 2 other brands that I haven't personally owned the freeze dryers, but I have done enough research with some of the owners and contacts at these companies to where I would recommend you taking a look at them and seeing if it's the right fit for you. The third freeze dryer brand is Blue Alpine. Now this is a company that had just started out just a couple years ago in terms of their releasing of their freeze dryers to the market, but I have talked to the owner and they seem like great people that are really investing time into their technology and their machine. Now, their size of their machine right now is about the size of a large Harvest-Rite freeze dryer like the one next to me. And so their price ranges right now, you can look on their website, it's about the same as a large freeze dryer. The Blue Alpine price for a freeze dryer is around $3,000, is a little bit under that, but you basically get a lot of the same components of bag, trays, things like that come with the freeze dryer when you buy it. The fourth on the list is a company called Prep for Life. They own the freeze dryer that's called the Cube. Now the unique thing about the Cube is they do have Bluetooth technology, so you can be able to coordinate all the different components of freeze drying and knowing when the cycle's done and drying, all that through your app, which I think is a really great feature. The Cube freeze dryer price is between $4,800 up to about $6,000 depending on what type of bundle you have. You can look at their website in the video description and kind of. So which freeze dryer should you choose? Well, I think it really depends on what your goals are for your business. But to start out with, if you're just trying to venture into this, I think minimally you should go with the large Harvest Right freeze dryer so that you can have enough capacity to do a lot of candy, fruit, even ice cream if you're able to do that. And the cost on that is pretty minimal in terms of entry point and getting the ROI back and breaking even on that freeze dryer. I think it's a great machine. I think their customer support has been good for my experience so far, and I think they just come out with a really good machine. Now, I do own the Stay Fresh freeze dryer. I would recommend them as well. They just don't have the sizes and the upgrades just like Harvest Right does, but I have used the Stay Fresh freeze dryer this entire year as of this video, and I think that the freeze time in terms of the shortened down period for it to freeze the fruit, things like that, as well as the dry time has been very quick and efficient, and so that's why I really like the Stay Fresh freeze dryer. In fact, I can do fruit in about 24 hours, 12 pounds, versus the Harvest Right in the large, it just has more capacity, so it's taking a little bit longer, maybe around 36 hours. Hey, if you're liking this video and you're excited about starting a freeze drying business, or you currently own a freeze drying business, give this video a thumbs up. It helps me know whether this video is relevant to you. Also, hit the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber already, and you'll get notified of more and more freeze drying videos that come out of this channel. All right, let's get back to the list. The next thing on the list is a little bit more business focused. You're gonna wanna figure out whether you wanna be a cottage food operator for your freeze drying business or go straight commercial. I'd recommend starting out in cottage food just to start out with, because you're gonna wanna experiment with what you're allowed to do in the area that you are, as well as there's not as many types of regulations in cottage food, but there are limitations in the products. So let's talk about that for a second. In cottage food, what that means is that you're making homemade goods. Typically, that's what you see at farmers markets and trade shows, things like that, where it's more local businesses making honey, jams, things like that. And freeze drying typically falls in that as well. And usually you're limited to a certain amount of products. Now in Idaho, it's a little more flexible. When I first started in 2020, I was able to do ice cream if I got testing of the moisture content and activity. Now in Idaho in 2023, the cottage food law states that you can't do ice cream. So it does change, and you're gonna have to check with your Central District Health on that. It's very easy to start a cottage food freeze drying business. Just go to Google, type in your cottage food laws for your county or your state. You're gonna contact them directly and say, hey, I wanna apply for a cottage food license. And then typically they're gonna request a menu of what you're planning to freeze dry and package, and then they'll approve it, and that's good to go. Then you can run it out of your home, your garage, your shop, anything you'd like from there. Now commercial, you can step right into it, or you can kind of work your way into it as you start gaining clients and brand recognition, things like that. The advantage for going commercial is that you get to start selling wholesale. It really opens the doors for more sales opportunities beyond just doing things that are more direct to consumer, like the cottage food law states that you have to do. Now there's a couple different avenues that you can do to get a commercial building that you can operate out of. I got a video about that where I talked about the top 10 things that I would do if you are starting out in a freeze drying business, and I'll share that video in the video description. And in that video I share ideas of where you can find a commercial kitchen that's rentable for you in your area. Now the big question that I get asked a lot in the comments, and you can see it all on the forums on social media, is how long do all these different products take, from candy to fruit to ice cream? Well, I'm going to answer that for you in a general range, so you're equipped to know what the expectation should be for the products that you're going to start freeze drying. First on the list is candy. Candy is super easy to freeze dry. It's really just more of the prep work that goes into it, and then you stick it in the freeze dryer. Candy takes 2 to 3 hours to do. Some candies take a little bit longer, and it really does vary based on the type of candy that you do. I've got plenty of videos that I've shared in my channel that you can take a look at of different candies that I've done and the times that have worked for me. Now the reason times work for different people is because you're in different environments. Freeze drying does different things based on humidity and the moisture in the air, as well as when it's winter time and it's nice and cold versus when it's hot and you're in a garage or you're in a commercial kitchen, the AC breaks down. So those are the different factors that vary, and you're just gonna have to figure that out as you start doing different types of product. That's the fun part about freeze drying, is that you get to kind of experiment, but there are a lot of great forums as well as my YouTube videos that you can find to kind of get you on the right foot to start with. Now my freeze drying business, I found the most consistent temperature is 140 degrees to set your freeze dryer to, no matter what freeze dryer you have, and then run the candy for about 3 hours. Now the longer cycle products is going to be the fruit, and the ice cream, and even types of meals, because it has just a lot more moisture content, and candy doesn't really have necessarily a ton of moisture that you're going to be taking it out through that freeze drying process. I'd expect that fruit takes anywhere between 24 to 36 hours, sometimes even longer if it's hot or humid, or there's a lot of humidity in the environment that you're freeze drying. Typically in a large Harvest Right freeze dryer like I've shown, or even Stay Fresh, it's about 24 to 36 hours. If I'm really packing the large freeze dryer with about 14 to 16 pounds, then I typically see almost about a 42 to 48 hour time frame for all of that fruit to freeze dry. If you're planning on doing vegetables, it's about the same as fruit. If you're planning on doing ice cream, I typically see about 24 to 36 hours. Now the temperature for fruit and ice cream that I use is 125 degrees. It comes default on the Harvest Right as well as the Stay Fresh freeze dryer, and I run the final dry time. That's the key component. Final dry, I do 8 hours or more. All right, 2 more topics that you should know before starting a freeze drying business. One is the bags that you choose. Now you're gonna wonder, hey, freeze drying, typically it's been with like Mountain House type of freeze drying meals where it's a Mylar bag and it's sealed up super airtight and things like that for longevity. And that is true. But right now with freeze drying candy and things that are just kind of fun to kind of see and they're all new to the consumer, is it's more for short-term use. You don't need to look at things that are gonna last 25 years. Freeze-dried candy is flying off the shelves, as well as ice cream for me and fruit. So you really just need to look at something that's gonna be more short-term consumption for bags. Now, if you wanna go that route of more long-term storage for your bags to kind of tout that as your brand of your company, I think that's great. Now, you're gonna wanna look at Mylar bags that don't have a window and they are able to be sealed with a like vacuum sealer or something that can suck the air out, even something that can put nitrogen back into it would be a great option for that. And that way you're selling it as a long-term storage. Now, if you're looking for the short-term bags, I personally use the Kraft Mylar bags. It's used for more beans and rice and things like that, but I found it to be consistent for storing my freeze-dried fruit as well as my candy and ice cream for about 3 to 6 months storage. And I list that on the disclaimer, and I tell all of my retail customers as well as my customers that that's kind of the shelf life. You can also look at bags that are on Uline as well as other types of outfits online, and I'll include links in the video description of where you can buy bags. Things that you should consider for purchasing bags for your freeze-dried business is that you should look at windowed type bags. This gives a great visual appeal of the product, whether it's candy, ice cream, or fruit, or other types of products. And a lot of the candy is very visual in terms of the colors and the pop and things like that. So I would choose something that has a window. You can also choose ones that don't have a window. Also different size bags. I'd choose bags that have maybe more of a sample size that's very small, where it just gives someone kind of a little bit of a taste, as well as having kind of a medium and even a large size bag for those people that really love your product. Okay, last on the list is going to be business supplies. I've done a couple videos. I recently did one on thermal printers and labels to put your ingredients and things printed out to put on your bag, as well as you're going to need something for your brand and your logo of your company. Now, you can use things like Avery labels. They have templates and ways that you can build a template for your ingredients as well as your brand. And then I use an inkjet printer to print off those labels for ingredients. You can use a thermal printer for shipping, also for labels as well, and it prints off very quick, but typically it's not in color, it's only a black and white. A couple other things you might want to look at is looking at a camera so you can take pictures of your product and your bag and things that you're doing in your business. An iPhone or an Android phone, whatever type of phone you have, it's going to be perfectly fine for that. But if you want to go for something more professional, you can always look at other types of cameras that are pretty handy and they're digital and they do kind of everything for you nowadays. You might also want to look at different types of software that can help your business in marketing as well as accounting. I use QuickBooks. I'd also recommend using Canva. Canva.com is a great tool for creating social media posts on Facebook, YouTube thumbnails like I create, and different types of poster templates, things like that. And they have a free version as well as a pro version that gets you access to a lot of different things. So check that out. And I've got links to all of this stuff that I've talked about in the video description below. And lastly, you are going to want some totes and some things to store all your bags in. I would suggest getting those black totes with the yellow lids at Costco. They've been great, and I've seen a lot of different people using those. You can also just use regular baskets and different types of like little tote fabric bags if you want to, and I've got some suggestions in the video description as well. If this video has sparked you to continue looking at starting a freeze drying business, don't let this stop here. I've got plenty of videos that I've invested in to make so that you're equipped to have a successful business starting out and avoid some of the pitfalls that I've made. Check these topics out right here, and I'll see you in the next video.